All right, so we actually have a quorum and it's 7 o'clock, so let's call this thing to order. First of all, do we have any additions or corrections to the agenda? Since it went around kind of late, I thought that might be something we needed to add. Monday holiday really messed me up. Okay. Looking for members of the public. We don't really have any. Okay. Does anybody have any correspondence as a board member? And we're flying through the agenda. Okay. We just got our, we have an administrative report from the principal. Bob, that's you next. We just got it, but if you want to talk about it, that's great.
I'll just hit a couple of highlights. So there were several folks here that did the tour with Visbit when they did their safety inspection a little while ago, and the results of that are in. And there's a lot of stuff to read. So I started looking through it today with Randy Morton from Central Office and with Ed. We got through it. We went and did a little bit of a walk around to look at some specific places they had highlighted to see if we were understanding the location correctly. They just send a lot of pictures and they refer to diagrams, but it's hard if the picture isn't out far enough, you can't really tell where the picture was taken. It doesn't identify a location, so we have to kind of do a little bit of searching to figure out what space was that again. And then so once we've generated this list of items to correct, we'll prioritize it, look at costs, and begin to go through the list. So that was, I'll report more on that as we get further along in that process. We just got it back. Okay. On a related note, we had our first full school fire drill in September, and I was standing in front of the school, as I'm prone to do, and was curious about how the students were exiting the building. And so I questioned it and ended up having a meeting with the state fire marshal, who came in and did a quick tour with me. And I told him in advance I didn't want a report out of this. I didn't want him looking too closely at stuff. I just wanted to talk about egress. And he was very willing to do that. So we talked through some things. I'm going to change a little bit about how the building exits to make it go a little quicker. And part of that is he would like to come back and do an inspection, a full fire inspection, which I think if it's like the safety inspection, it's going to come up with some stuff that we're going to have to address. So I told him that if we could push that off a little bit until the fall, winter, that he was fine with that. He was very easy to work with. Let's see, a couple of things. So the Rocktoberfest dance was this past week. 200 out of our 330 students were there. It's a pretty good turnout.
Yeah.
Yep, and it was a fun night. And it was.
Were you there?
I was there. It was the longest work day of the year, but I was there. It was fun.
Weather good?
Weather was good. It was cool, but
Yeah.
did not rain, which was good. So, yeah. So part of my work with teachers initially has been to try to get them to explore what I refer to as get outside the cave and go see what other schools are doing and learn from other places and see. It's very easy to get kind of caught up in your own thing when you're in your own classroom and not kind of see what's happening in education around you. So one of those first steps of taking a team Thursday to Massachusetts for the NEASC Model Schools Conference, which is just a bunch of different schools that come and present different practices that they're doing, and they've been identified as model schools. So we are hoping we can learn a little bit more about proficiency-based learning and personalization, two specific things I'd like to look at. The following Thursday is our parent conference night, and there's a couple things happening at the same time. The building should be hopping. There's a community health fair happening in the activity room. BSAC has some stuff going on for juniors and seniors, and we're hoping to get a lot of people turning out for that, and have sent out information already to parents. And then this letter came yesterday, or Friday, that all 4 of the Windham County high schools are being recognized by the Brattleboro Development Credit Corporation Founders Award for this year. And it's for work that's been done around workforce development and initiatives in education tied to the workforce. And so Mel Swinsky is going to go and accept that award on our behalf in another week, 2 weeks. which is kind of cool. All 4 high schools are
great.
getting recognized for that work.
Congratulations.
And the last part is per board policy, and I think I notified you guys a few times in August of a couple of trips that were happening this year. There's another one being added to the list. Gerald Julian Cisse is going to be leading a trip to Spain during the February vacation. So per policy, I'm to alert you to this fact. So that's what I'm doing.
Thank you.
Any questions? I would say, Joe, I would love it if on the agenda structure, if we could add a student report. It had been requested last time about having the students report out. We talked about it in student council. I met with these 2 guys and tried to prepare them for what we could talk about, what they could ask for, and so if we could make that part of the standing agenda for a student report, I think that would be a good addition.
Yep, I think the only reason I didn't put it on
It's because it's,
was because there was no students at the last meeting. So I was like, well,
Yeah.
let's not put them on the spot.
Big Tom was here, right?
Were you?
Probably.
Somehow it didn't make my notes then, I apologize. But I just, it's on there now, it will become part of the standing agenda and you guys will have, I mean, you can always, even if it's not there, you can always, bring up anything under, new business that needs our attention. Please, don't be shy.
I won't, don't worry.
Okay,
Yeah, Chloe's
Thanks.
back from hiatus. So I think they do have something for you guys tonight.
okay, great. We can stick them on there. Anybody have any questions? So congratulations on the Brattleboro Development Credit Corporation's Founders Award. Workforce Development and Education Initiatives, what, is that essentially co-op program type stuff, or?
I mean, I think that's how it translates here, but I think it's broader than that as well.
Okay.
I think Mel's worked with the, I don't want to get this wrong, RCDC? Is that such a thing?
WRCC.
No,
Which one are you talking
the
about?
RCDC, the Regional Development, something like
Oh,
that.
the broader.
Yeah,
beam.
anyway, so she's been working with this group for a couple of years, and it's to be honest, she would be way better at explaining the work that
Okay.
she's done with that. I know co-op and being a part of the economic development piece is a part of it, but our scope with our co-op is pretty small, based on transportation needs and other things, and kids are pretty much placed within a very small diameter of the high school. And I met with that board, one of the representatives the summer when I started, and he's interested in having that relationship grow, which I think is a good thing. But I think the award piece is for a broader thing that's been going on, not just the co-op and work placement.
Okay,
It's the idea of getting businesses and schools together to talk about what skills do you need
Right.
in order to be, what are they looking for, what can we offer, and just sort of getting people talking.
okay,
Yeah.
thanks. Anyone else? All right, moving right along. Mr. Anton.
So I sent out my superintendent's report to everybody, but I have hard copies if anybody would like any. At our WCSU board meeting, we mentioned that there was going to be a possibility for your board to participate in the Wyndham Solid Waste Solar Project. And so I have a little bit more information about that. Basically, if the board allows the chair to release your GMP records, then Encore Renewable Tech Energy will do an analysis and provide for you how much you would save over the next 20 years. You'd be committed to nothing. I only have one of these, but I'll pass it around. This is an example of what it looks like for Jamaica. And basically what I'm asking is if the board would feel comfortable to empower the chair to just send an email, and I'll give it all the information to Joe. And he just allows the renewable, what's the name of it? Encore Renewable Energy to look up all your GMP files and then produce a report such as this so that you could talk about it in November and then make a decision prior to November 30th if you want to be a part of it.
There's no downside to this, right?
That
we can see.
At this point
At
right
this
now,
point.
I don't see it. You're going to get information for you guys to have a
Okay.
discussion. Each board that I've gone to so far has gone for this part of it.
And what's GNP?
Green Mountain Power.
Oh, I'm sorry, okay.
Now, am I wrong, or did at one point we vote to do something like Newfane did? Did that end or something? Didn't they stop? If we got it in by a certain date, we were.
So there was a consortium. I'm
Yes.
sure that
Yes.
Yes.
Victor probably came around and told you about that.
Yep.
And that has faded. This one is in existence, but GMP may still have your data from that to provide it. When we did Jamaica's, they're like, no, we got it. Jamaica's on it.
Right, okay.
Basically, Wyndham Solid Waste is going to every select board and every school board in the county
Okay.
to see if you'd like to be an offloader, an off-taker of power for this project.
Should we make a motion to allow the
That would be
information to be
great.
released as a board?
Mhm.
Oh, yeah. I'd like to make a motion to allow the information to be released.
Second?
Okay. Any discussion?
Could you make that motion louder, please?
I would like to make a motion to empower the board to allow the release of our data to Green Mountain Power via our board chair.
Jeremy, that was your second, right?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Any further discussion now that it's been moved and seconded? Okay, all in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right.
And I'll email you
Okay,
how to do that tomorrow.
all right, great. Does anybody have any questions about the written report? Does everybody have the written report?
I read it. I have it. I love the part about the special ed. That was
It is nice to get all the different departments and central office for you to continually get updates.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
All right. Thanks, Bill.
You bet. And then for your quarterly report from our business manager. You guys all done? Good. The highlights are on the front there. The next page is your ending FY16 year with the corrections that we've been discussing since July and August of the transportation aid. So it's important to note that you guys had a $70,675 deficit starting the year. You had planned to budget it down. You came close. You still had $13,722 when the fiscal year ended and everything was tightened up. But remember, that does not include the additions of the driver's ed and the .67 math that were made prior to July 1st, 2016. So I just wanted to have everybody understand the context of starting the fiscal year out. And then page 2 is this year's quarterly report. So you'll see that there'll be a lot of encumbrances. So if we know we're going to be spending that line item, we will encumber it. And that's usually salaries and benefits. And that's, again, pointed out on the front of the page. And as those things start adding up, the mid-year report will be a little bit more detailed because we'll have a cycle through. But these are the reports that we will make sure that you guys have every 3 months. And then Lori Garland, our business manager, will be here at any request. So instead of just having her come, I want her to come with a purpose and be able to answer the questions that you have, be prepared. But we'll always have this every quarter.
Go ahead.
So we just received this now,
Yes.
right here.
And Joe had requested that you guys get it 4 or 5 days in advance.
be so helpful, because I feel like if Lori's here quarterly, or if somebody's here representing
Sure.
these numbers quarterly,
Then you can,
I could actually ask questions, but if I'm receiving it now, I have no.
can't do that.
Yeah, so we need to
Lor-
really, that was a
Lori's
problem
on
in the past, we
vacation,
need to work
yes.
on that.
And
Right.
I can work on that.
Okay, that would be great.
Thank you.
Well, the other thing is we could email a question to Lori
Fine.
pretty much at any time.
Anytime.
I mean,
Yes,
you
we're
know, we can
always
take
here.
this home tonight, we can look at this, and if a question comes up in the next week, email Lori. She can either address it by email, or, you know, if we need her to, we can have her attend.
But it would be highly beneficial to have it 4 or 5 days in advance.
Yes,
Think about
yes.
your questions, be able to talk about it publicly, but also be able to send them in advance.
Right, true.
I do have one question.
Please.
My recollection of how things went, and this is just a recollection, is because you're saying there was a math position added.
Yes, after the budget was approved in January,
And that was a new position,
0.67,
okay, and then driver's ed.
0.25. or
But now,
25K.
now is there in here somewhere, is it accounted for that we did actually not rehire the SAP person? So that was,
So that wasn't budgeted?
it was
though.
budgeted, yeah, it was, supposedly.
No,
Mm-mm.
it was not budgeted. It was
We were told it
discussed.
was. Well, we were told it was a budgeted item, but then because it wasn't, part of it would be grant funded and part of it would be, and
It was pure
the grant
grant.
was not,
Yeah.
it was pure grant.
There was no local funding at the budget presented to your taxpayers.
Okay, yeah, because it was in the budget
Correct.
and it was in
But it
the
was-
expense, but
right.
it.
So you'd
the
have the
revenue
expenditure-
part
right.
Didn't come through.
Exactly, Betty.
Okay, okay.
Anybody else have anything they wanna question now?
Yeah, revenue source of miscellaneous local donations.
Tell everybody where you are, Howie.
On page 1,
Okay.
On page,
page 1, fiscal
Okay.
year 16, estimated year.
wait, they all say page 1 of, the 2 pages with numbers all say page 1 of 1. So,
So the first, let's see,
First
the second page,
is it the last page
The
of
last
the 3-page
page.
document?
it's the last page, Randall.
Miscellaneous level donations, gotcha.
Miscellaneous local donations. What are the $19,700 of donations that we're expecting?
So you're on page,
Page, the last
third-
The last
First
page.
page.
1 of 1, part 2.
Yeah.
Count 1990. Okay, 1990.
Yeah, line 1990.
Still have a line 1990.
okay, 1990? I don't know. I'd have to look that up for you.
Okay.
But I will answer.
Thank you.
I just want to reiterate that I really feel like we need to have this information before tonight.
I,
It's super important to me. This
Okay.
is historically an issue.
okay.
If I can't present to our taxpayers that we've actually reviewed this information and that we don't have questions, I don't feel like we're actually doing our job. It
Okay.
really matters.
I hear you.
Okay, great question, Howie. We should have been able to have this question answered before now.
Yeah, I think I'd also, since these are gonna be quarterly reports, I mean, we don't have to have the
It
business.
matters even more because it's
Yeah,
quarterly,
we
Howie.
don't have to have the business manager here for every one of our meetings, but it would be nice to have her here for the quarterly report.
Absolutely.
All right, anything else anybody sees right now? All right. We can add students to the report piece, although you're not administrative, but, you can fit in there if you want. Something you wanna,
I'll just pass it around.
It's a pretty short report. There are 2 pages to take. Dominic printed out the first page, which is, the actual agenda we have, and then the other page is the article, that Harry Frank wrote, and I thought I would print it out because I think he interviewed you, right?
Yeah.
He interviewed both Dominic and I about being on the school board, and I thought that maybe you guys would like to see what came out of that. So I guess the first thing we wanted to talk about was the Wi-Fi issue we've been having at school. Apparently we all breached the Wi-Fi. I'm not gonna get into breaching, but there have been 100 students that were blacklisted from using all of the Wi-Fis at school because we were either on the faculty staff Wi-Fi and or the what's the other Wi-Fi called? I don't remember what the classroom Wi-Fi. Yeah, that one. So we're still not allowed to use the Wi-Fi on any device that we had. We got blacklisted if our devices had a name, like the name of my iPhone is Chloe Fawcett's iPhone. So if they saw that on one of the Wi-Fis, you get blacklisted. Besides being blacklisted from it, there isn't. I think we decided there's not going to be any other punishment for it, right? And right now, students are in the midst of creating a proposal for punishments in the future. It's done. It's done. I haven't seen it fully, but it's done. For punishments of kids breaking this rule in the future. I'm assuming since the proposal has been sent out that the kids are going to be
Morning
unblacklisted.
announcements, They'll have your information.
There we go. In the morning announcements, we'll have our information. That's that about that.
So next on our agenda was the fall field day. Last year, the staff had come to us and proposed that we have another field day along with the one in the spring. The one in the spring is for school spirit, so we wanted to add this one right before Rocktoberfest to add to our coming together.
And speaking of Rocktoberfest, Mr. Tebow said before that it was a great outcome and that there were a lot of students there, but Dominic has something to say about that.
I had talked to several students, and most of them were like, it was fun hanging out with friends, but they weren't really impressed by the DJ or the bonfire. So, I don't know. Let you guys know, I guess.
Is that information you're gonna take back to student council?
Yeah.
For action next year?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cause that's really great information to have.
Yeah, the problem is that we brought it to student council last year because the year before it wasn't great either. And they didn't do anything about it.
Who came up with the
We
DJ?
didn't do it.
Who's the
I haven't,
coordinator?
for student council, Karen Meyer.
So your student council reps aren't doing their job, is what you're saying?
No.
Who's the coordinator for Rock, is it different for Rocktoberfest?
Oh, Miss Clausen is the coordinator for Rocktoberfest.
And she was there last year for those meetings and didn't.
She was not there for the meetings, but I know that multiple students brought it up to her. I don't know, I didn't go to Rocktoberfest this year. I don't know how it was. I don't know if they got a different DJ and it just still wasn't a good DJ. I don't know. But in the past, I know that the DJ at Rocktoberfest hasn't been like, they've played like really silly songs that no one wants to listen to. And like,
Who
it
picks
just,
the DJ?
I have no idea, honestly.
That should be.
Are there
Someone
any
else.
students involved in the organization of the event? Or the planning or anything?
I
Obviously
do
it's not
believe you
student
can
council.
volunteer to help Miss Clausen
Yeah.
plan it, but if not, she's going to plan it.
Yeah, it's definitely not a student council thing. I think we'll have input if we want to have input, but I don't think anyone really helped her plan it this year.
I think originally it was a boosters event.
Yeah, it used to be a booster club event, and then Ms. Clausen took over because they didn't want to set it up. So
Yeah.
Ms. Clausen took it over. I don't know if they still sell things there for the booster club,
Booster
but
sells food,
yeah. So that's basically our whole report. It was brief, because we wanted to know more of what you guys would like to hear from us and what we should be asking the students. At our meeting with Mr. Tebow, we talked about asking them more about the building itself and what things we could change about the building and things like that we could bring to you guys. But besides that, we were just curious as to what you guys would like us to ask them.
Can I ask about the Wi-Fi issue? So it reads like, did the students hacked the Wi-Fi?
Yeah, That's,
Hack, so there's some kind of like hacker.
I
body
don't
that
know
got in?
if anyone actually hacked the Wi-Fi. Someone might have hacked the Wi-Fi, but for a lot of the students, faculty or staff gave them the password to the Wi-Fi because the guest Wi-Fi that the students use is so, like, used to be so slow that, like, we couldn't use it for anything if we were actually using, like, our own personal laptops or our phones for actual educational use. So our teachers had given some of us, like, that password for the classroom Wi-Fi or the faculty staff Wi-Fi. So I don't know if there was actually someone who hacked into the, there might have been,
I think
but.
it was distributed.
Yeah,
through that.
but they've been using the word breach. That's why I put it in quotations, because they've been using the word breaching, but I don't think anyone really
So-
breached the Wi-Fi.
Sharing
Yeah.
information.
Right.
So staff members gave students the Wi-Fi password and the students are blacklisted?
Staff gave some students the Wi-Fi password, and then those students gave other students the Wi-Fi password. But yes, all students who are on that Wi-Fi have been blacklisted. They will be unblacklisted shortly, but as of the moment, I think it's been 2.5 weeks that we haven't had Wi-Fi.
Did this get followed up with the faculty? Because it's really faculty fault. Faculty giving up
Yeah,
passwords is a faculty
from what I
fault.
understand, the two members who gave it out, to my knowledge, and maybe more, no longer employed here.
Okay.
So whether it was handed out on their way out the door or whether it was something more, I'm not sure. See,
I'm just curious.
part of the issue was that there's two parts to this. So the guest network has a narrower
Yeah.
bandwidth than the other networks, and it has filtering, as we're required to do because we receive federal funds to pay for it. So students, in order to get around the filtering,
Yes.
use an alternative method called VPN, which further slows their device. So you have the slower network, and the VPN, so there's a
Right.
double effect to get around, and that's to get around filters. So when they started using the staff network, and there was so much traffic on the staff network that it was causing problems for staff to be able to do their job, the IT department decided they were gonna shut it off. At that point, I met with we had a student council meeting one day during lunch, and I basically put it on them and said, you guys gotta figure out how to solve this. Because you guys are the ones that are doing it, and it's, you're using passwords you're not supposed to be using.
Yeah.
And yes, staff shouldn't be giving them out, but we didn't want to create a big like witch hunt kind of environment.
Right.
We wanted to create an educational environment where there's a problem to solve, let's put our heads together to figure out how to solve it.
Some of the students warned before they're blacklisted, or they just?
Nope,
said they were
it was abrupt. And so the outcome was that we had sort of a negotiation, a little settlement, where the bandwidth of the guest network was doubled, and we relinquished some filtering. We can't relinquish all of it, but we opened up Facebook, which was one of the big ones that people were using to go around. And it's a lot for legitimate purposes. Kids needed to communicate with parents using
Yeah.
Facebook Messenger if they don't have phones and so on and so forth. So this is a legitimate concern. So we negotiated with the students to allow that filtering to be removed and double the bandwidth. And I think people are fairly happy with the result. The consequence side was that meanwhile, while we fixed it and while the students were responsible for creating the proposal, the students who were using it with the illegal password, they just didn't get access. They could get access on school devices all day long.
Right, personal.
It was just their personal devices they couldn't get access on. So
I mean,
no students were denied any educational
Yeah.
access at all.
So is it an issue of the technology needing to be upgraded in the school at all? Because I mean, that's certainly budgetarily we should support, because
Nope,
going
it
into.
wasn't really an equipment issue.
Okay.
No,
I think that a lot of the kids are going to be satisfied with the unblocking of Facebook because, I mean, while obviously we had VPN last year, we were going on Instagram and Snapchat. Like, I'm not going to lie, I did that all the time. But I talked to, like, a lot of kids, and they're all saying, like, now that we don't have VPN and Facebook's unblocked for us to go on and talk to our families in order, like, to figure out rides or this or that, etc., whatever, they aren't going to feel the need to go on Instagram or go on Snapchat. Like, they said that they basically were just doing it because they could, because they had VPN. But now that they don't need VPN to unblock Facebook, then they're not going to be using Instagram or Snapchat for a lot of students, at least. So I think that it's beneficial for both students and teachers because they're not going to have to be yelling at kids all the time to get off their phones in the middle of class.
I think for me, the most important part about it was the process. It was very much like we just dumped it on them. This is a problem. You guys created it. you guys solve it. And they came up with, and they did an incredibly thorough job. A couple of kids that represent student council put together a proposal. I mean, it was like 3 pages long. It was incredibly thorough and detailed around what they were looking for, why they wanted it, how it was gonna help, how they wanted to deal with consequences for future. And that was the one piece that was missing. We asked them to deal with what happens in the future if kids now violate that. How are we gonna deal with it? How do we respond? You tell us. Well, that took a little bit more time, but they crafted a full page response to that as well. So beginning tomorrow, students who once it will be publicized, students can go to the IT office and get themselves allowed to go on the wireless again. So.
I know a pretty good DJ.
Hopefully this will show students that, you know, it is a new administration and maybe there's different ways to deal with issues like try going to the administration first and, you know, maybe rules can be changed because it is a new regime.
And we did talk about that very issue when I sat down with them. I said, I don't know how you guys have been, how it's been in the past, but the reality is if there's an issue, come talk to me about it, we'll try to solve it together. Because that is, it's a community, that's the way it ought to be, so.
It's what they learn, they should learn
Yep.
that as well as all the
Absolutely.
educational stuff.
Yep.
Do you have a comment? Ron?
Way to use this as a learning opportunity, as a problem-solving opportunity. But just not to belabor the point, but instead of blacklisting kids, why didn't you just simply change the password?
Well, that involved IT going around to every single staff computer, and it was just, that would have taken hours. So it was just quicker to shut off the devices that they thought were the ones that weren't supposed to be on there. Now, there were some teachers that got caught up on that too, because Bob's iPod they might not know who Bob is, and so they might just shut it off. And they said, if you're a staff member, you lost access, come tell us and we'll get you back on. But they did it, and it shut off not just for the staff wireless, but for the guest one as well. So they couldn't log on to any of the devices. Which I mean, there were students who were pretty upset about it, right? I mean, I felt that it was a pretty appropriate and natural consequence of having the passwords being used, even, depending on why it was being used. And so we talked about the idea of the ethics involved in this and how, if there's a problem that you need to solve and you're sort of skirting the problem and trying to solve it through a way that isn't really the right way to do it, it's not really that different than taking the easy way to write a term paper and buying one online. And ethics are really important, and that we want you to do it the right way. And so the process of asking and meeting and negotiating and discussing, that's the right way. And so that was the learning experience, I think, in the end. There was still some that were pretty riled up, but
Yeah, it was a little frustrating.
Yeah.
I wasn't one of those kids.
of course, you were very reasonable, very reasonable.
Very nice. Now, will this affect the, sort of internet use policy?
Well, I think the consequence piece that the students have proposed will be a different result than what's in the current policy.
Okay.
Not the policy, not from
The
the
administrative
policy level, I'm sorry,
procedure. It won't
side.
affect anything at a policy level, but it'll change the
It'll change
administrative
how we
procedure.
approach it.
Okay.
To the procedure side, yep.
And as far as your last question, what is the type of stuff that we'd like to hear? This is exactly it. There's very few of us at this point who have kids in the school.
Right.
Howie does, I think Kelly does.
This is great, Chloe. This is
The rest of
exactly
us,
what I
we don't have children in the school, so we have no idea what makes you guys tick, outside of education. So this is terrific.
Yeah, I just want to add that I've had kids in this school for years, and the DJ problem is a recurring problem.
All the time.
So, maybe that would be a good project for you guys to come up with some kind of competition, selection process, audition process, to figure out who you're going to hire for your next dance, and get the kids excited about it and get good attendance.
Yeah, for prom last year, when we put on prom, every meeting for like 2 months, a full 60 minutes, all we talked about was DJs, so we can make sure we got the right DJ. I think we won that one for prom, so maybe we'll have to call him back for.
And I think
some
Ms.
things.
Clausen would be thrilled to have more help.
Yeah, I think so
Appreciate
too.
you.
She threatened last year to not do Spirit Week, and we were all like, "Oh my God, don't do that."
It would be a shame for it to not be attended as well as
Yeah.
it was, because it's a cool idea.
Yeah, and that problem goes
Done correctly.
back further than, how
Oh,
it
yeah.
was
Right.
kids. I remember
DJs, yeah.
complaining about the music in my high school dances. So, it goes back. All right, thank you. Very informative. Anyone else? All right. So, last meeting, we talked about the different ways that we can approach the 21C funding going forward. And we had a fair amount of discussion, and we pushed the vote off until this meeting, just because there might be some things that changed, and we kind of wanted to see where some of the other schools were gonna come down, so that we could, you know, not maybe be the outlier in that whole thing. How's it looking? Is everybody?
So everybody has been approached and talked about. I would say that you guys were the first in the lead, and everybody kind of had the same feelings that you all had about it was an extremely important program. Let's find a way to support this. The predominant feeling among the groups is to take the $24,000, spread it over 2 years, so the rundown is lower, and to prepare for years 2, 3, 4, and 5. So I have the copies again in case anybody keep them so you guys can see what you're talking about.
Anything changed from the last time?
Nothing has changed,
Yeah.
no. So I mean, it's gonna be a few $1,000s more than what you had planned on. But it would keep the program whole, and no programming would be asked to be reduced.
So the spreading the $24,000 over 2 years is what we have on this thing as option 2?
Yeah, I don't have it. I think it's option 2.
It's the option where we spread it over 2 years, we don't hire the grant
don't, right.
writer.
We kind of accept the reality of the
Right,
funding desert of grant funds.
right.
And spread over the surplus from last year to make it smooth and know ahead of time what years 2, 3, 4, and 5 will look like under those scenarios.
Okay. Have other boards actually adopted a formal motion?
Every other board is basically just, they didn't adopt a motion, they just said to their administrator, we support this, we understand this is the reality, please do your best in the next 9 months of the budget to be cognizant of this reality, but do not minimize the,
Okay, that makes more sense to me than tying their hands with a motion too.
I agree. I feel like it's super, super important, and we've said that
Absolutely.
multiple times here as a board, so.
Yeah,
I would say that you guys set the tone for the discussion.
Okay.
You guys are the first and the last.
all right. Anybody have thoughts, feelings on this that they want to share? I think Bill pretty much summed up my attitude, and, you know, that this is a very important and beneficial program, and that we should do everything we can to continue it. And, you know, we know looking at this, what we can do over the next 5 years to keep it going, and the budgetary impact is not, in my mind, significant compared to the benefits of this program. So, you know, I would encourage in the planning to make it, to do everything you can to continue this. But, yes, Howie?
For the benefit of the TV audience, can you just explain again what the 21C program is?
Oh, goodness.
Briefly?
Yeah, the
People might just be
21C
looking
program
at this for the first
is primarily the after-school program that, you know, allows, I mean, isn't there a summary attached to this thing?
It's an educational.
You know, it's after-school education, but there's all kinds of different ways that the kids can explore and learn, you know, from ultimate frisbee to guitar to homework help to, help me here, robotics.
So it's summer.
Makerspace,
Yeah.
it's summer and after, oh yeah,
It's
summer
anything
too.
outside of the school day. So it's extended learning opportunities before school, after school, during the summertime, that not only do Leland and Gray students participate in, but then Leland and Gray students actually go to elementary locations and are counselors for those programs.
And transportation.
And transportation completely, so, and it's on a sliding scale, and everybody is welcome to participate. And I believe it is between 28 and 34 weeks during the school year and 4 to 6 weeks during the summer.
And I know the participation numbers are amazing.
They're
You don't
continually
have percentage-wise?
two-thirds, yeah.
Yeah, it's like 2/3 of our students participate in some way or another in this program. So,
And it has a food component too.
Yes.
Is that funded
Mhm.
by the 21st
It's all
century?
part of it, yeah. It's a really good program. And you guys have been supporting it for the last 6 years.
Well, I'll speak to that, and I'll say that this program is one of the best things we have going for our kids. You know, we talk a lot about prevention, but it's really hard to prevent kids from doing stuff. Much better, you have a much better shot at filling up their time with good stuff than trying to prevent them from doing bad stuff. So I'm all in favor of funding this program.
thanks. All right. Let Patty give the Act 46 report, or Kelly, or Drew, or, I missed the last Act 46 meeting, I was traveling. So I'm not as up to date on that as I could be. I know that there were more presentations from principals, and that the committee's working to get the public relations campaign going, and I believe it'll start at the next meeting that we'll actually start discussing the actual language in the articles, right?
Yep, yep.
Um,
Great presentations,
Fabulous presentations.
excellent presentations. And then,
I know they're already available online,
and
the
then discussion,
film.
the PR.
We
We've
need to
hired-
encourage everybody to take a look at those.
Mhm.
Because most of our elementary schools in our district, actually the principals have come and done presentations to the committee, and they've just been amazing. If anybody, not that we need to be sold on our community, but really to remember, even the principal from my elementary school that my kids are at, it was a really great presentation. I just want to encourage everybody to stream that.
Yeah.
Patty, you want to talk about PR? Because that was important.
Yeah, we did have a presentation from Anita Raphael, I believe is her last name, and she ultimately was hired as the PR person for the study committee. It's the same person who's helping the Dover, Wardsboro, Marlboro group. She's keeping it very simple. She's for the most part doing, at this point, a take-home thing for kids in their backpacks from each of the elementary schools. She's got posters she's created and gonna put around and send to the schools and send to the town clerks, and she's created a blog site that she's slowly filling with links, and all of her communications center on the blog site as the single source for everything, and it's got great tabs and everything, and there'll be links to it on the Leland and Gray site, and I think all the elementary school sites. And she's doing public service announcements with our agendas every week in the Brattleboro Reformer, I believe, and let's see, what else is she doing? I think we're still working on a flyer for, quite get where that's at.
distribution at
for-
the,
yeah,
election?
Clear.
Yeah, that kind of didn't get figured out, for the big voter day, the national, because you have active voters that day, so I'm not sure quite where that is.
I think
but-
that's on the agenda to finalize it at the next meeting.
Yeah, yeah, so I was very happy with, and I'm her contact, so everything at the meetings, things are discussed, and it's, oh, Patty, make sure you get, that goes to Anita, make sure that gets to Anita, so it all comes from her to me and then gets disseminated, and it comes to me, from me to her in one, so.
And we here as a Leland and Gray board should be absolutely thrilled with the presentation that our leader, Bob,
Yeah, it was
gave
very good.
about Leland and Gray at that meeting.
Really
It was
great.
very stellar, Bob.
If you didn't
Thank
see
you
if
for
there was tap
stepping.
dancing, there was singing.
It was.
Ooh, I gotta stream that.
I was super,
Yeah,
super
because
proud
you
of our
keep up the
school
light.
and our administration, so Bob,
Oh, no,
thank
I'm
you
not.
very much.
And it was noted that it's incumbent upon us as a committee and I think us as a school board and all of the school boards to get the word out. Don't count on just the PR to be the only way it gets out. Talk to your neighbors, talk to your friends, talk to people when you're at the local store, you know, engage people in discussion because that is really the best way to inform people and tell them where they can find the information. We are not trying to get a yes or a no or a, we just want the information out there so people can make an informed decision for the vote and that we get a good turnout. So we really can be sure this is what our communities truly want.
I was at that meeting, can I speak to it too?
Sure.
I was appalled that the analysis of this plan, of this merger plan was all benefit and no costs. I don't think that that is a plausible way of approaching it. I don't think that this study is being conducted in any kind of fair manner. We're gonna go to our voters and ask them to give up their town school boards, give up control over their kids' education to a central board. And this is just, everything I've seen so far has been rah, 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 let's merge, and no fair appraisal of the costs involved. I also was very impressed by the presentations of our principals and the many ways they are already sharing resources and maintaining local control of our schools. The Newfane principal is sharing teachers with other schools. There's Camp Keewaydin. There's a lot of sharing going on between our schools. There's talks, there's meetings between the 7th grade teachers at Leland and Gray and the 6th grade teachers at the elementary school. All of this stuff is existing with our current framework. And we are asking people to give up a huge chunk of control for what? And this is that for what is the question I keep asking everybody, and I keep getting no answer. So I'm hoping that this study committee really takes a fair look at the costs involved of giving up our town school boards in addition to the perceived benefits.
Anybody else?
I mean, I agree with Hallie. It's hard when there's these proposals and they're all about, here's all the advantages, and you don't, it's, my own district saw this recently, and there's 0 disadvantages listed, like there's no, like, all these decisions are gonna be a balance, and if you apply to, if you show this to a voter or to a board member, and you all are advantage and no disadvantage, you're not telling me how you're weighing out the problem. It's much harder for me to believe or give that, you know, any kind of leverage in my mind.
I'm not
'Cause I
sure
know-
that Howie's giving fair credit, though, to the amount of time that was spent at that meeting discussing the fact that there are 3 towns. I'm not gonna go into details, but everybody can watch the replay. There was towns in the Act 46 Study Committee that are going to experience a benefit financially, and there are towns that are not. And that was super clear. That was very much brought forward. And that will continue, as far as I'm concerned, as a Newfane resident, that will absolutely continue to be at the forefront of any conversations we have around Act 46. So I don't think we should lose hope yet. I think that there's room for more conversation around the positives and negatives, but,
Yeah, the benefits were more focused on the tax manipulations of whatever
and the
discount
negatives were
short
focused
term.
around the tax
But
manipulations,
not-
Sally. That was not a
Yeah.
one-sided
But there was
conversation. It
no-
was very,
But there
very
was no
clear.
talk of the costs, the real costs involved. There was talk of the expense, the cost to the taxpayers, but the costs that start the whole process, the actual cost of running the schools, has not been brought up or touched.
Well, I'd encourage you to continue to attend the meetings and you know, pay attention to the numbers. Patty? you wanna go?
Yeah, I mean, we do not have a choice other than to explore this, look at it, study it, and present it. And I think we're all doing a good job at trying to be somewhat, you know, what's the word I'm searching for? Like even toned and
Clear. It's just
understanding.
balanced.
Balanced, yeah, and understanding that there are pros and cons, and I'm sure more of those will come out as we discuss. And that's why it's important for people to look at the videos on the TV and listen to all the discussion, because it can't all be typed. Peter's fast, but he's not that fast.
Well, and, you know, it's not really the responsibility of a minute taker
No,
to
to be
to
all the
capture
information.
every
Right.
utterance, you know?
But I guess if we're having a PR person, we should try to make sure the PR person presents a balanced case rather than a skewed case, because when you present a skewed case, people won't listen to it as well. I mean,
Well,
'cause
the
they're
PR
just-
person won't present opinion, they'll just present
What
like
we give
all the
them.
documents
Facts,
we
yeah.
see,
Super
all the
factual. We were
facts
really
we
proud
have,
of it. Yeah.
you know, notices of meetings and things like that. There shouldn't be any opinion in that at all.
Right.
You know, it'll just be information. The opinion is everybody's by themselves. So, it is an ongoing process. Okay, was there a policy committee meeting tonight?
Yes.
Was there? Is there a report that comes out of the policy committee meeting tonight?
Not really.
No? Okay.
No.
All right.
No, yeah.
Do we have any items to add under new business?
Is budget old business or new business?
Is there budget stuff?
Well, I was just wondering, when do we start that?
Well, we
So
got a
last-
timeline at the last meeting.
You guys approved the timeline at the last meeting,
Oh,
so
okay.
we
We
are
did get
underway.
one.
Teachers have submitted requests to start building.
Okay,
Bill and I and Lori are meeting soon and
great.
moving forward. So yeah, it's underway.
Yeah.
It's never a real fun time.
It's a season that never ends.
Yeah. Is there anything else under new business?
I totally missed that, Mr. Tebow. What is underway?
Budget process.
Ah, good.
Yep.
Are we done with bills and pay orders?
We are, yes.
Thank you, sir. So we have 3 general fund warrants totaling $1,079,870.90, and 2 payrolls totaling $224,671.03, for a total of $1,304,541.93. This has all been checked and reviewed and it's all good? Okay, so we just need a motion to approve that.
Make a motion, we approve bills and pay orders as stated.
Thank you.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Questions? All right, all in favor of approving bills and pay orders in the total amount of $1,304,541.93, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Is there any reason to pull the minutes from the consent agenda? So then we just need a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right. And opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. Anything under other, folks? Other lawful business, I think it actually is. Is that executive session real? Or is that a holdover?
No, we have,
Okay, so
Yeah.
we have an executive session. Will there be any kind of action
No.
after it?
there will
Okay. So, just remind you, the next meeting is Tuesday, November 8th. It's my wedding anniversary, no cards, no gifts, just tell me congratulations on making it this long.
He just wants it on TV to show that he remembered it, just.
See,
in case
honey,
he
I
forgets.
remember. And then there's a study committee meeting October 19th and again November 2nd. And also November 16th, I guess. All of those are 7 o'clock, all of those are here. Okay. So we just need a motion to go into executive session for a contractual matter?
Yes.
Okay.
After, pull the-
I make a motion to go into executive session.
It is. It's also election day, yeah.
We're gonna have a short meeting, yeah.
Oh, yeah, very short.
Anybody second?
All right, it's been moved and seconded to go into executive session for contractual matter.
And
All in
we can't
favor,
record.
please say aye.
Aye.
All right, opposed? All right, we're in.
I think somebody.
We're adjourned.
Okay.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.